everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless if you're here for it. Hit subscribe and let's go.
The invitation arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. Heavy cardstock, embossed lettering, the kind of formal announcement that screamed importance. Richard Foster and family cordially invite you to the Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards dinner. I opened it carefully, expecting the usual family gathering details. Instead, tucked inside was a handwritten note from my sister Claire on her monogrammed stationery. Rachel, Dad's receiving the Community Leadership Award this year. It's black tie, very formal. The governor will be there along with all of Dad's business associates and their families. Perhaps it's best you skip this one. You know how these events are. Claire. I read it twice. The message was clear even without her saying it directly. Don't come. You'll embarrass us. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later. The family group chat. Claire, everyone got their invitations for Dad's big night, right? Mom's handling the table arrangements. It's going to be incredible. Mom, so proud of your father. 25 years building Foster and Associates, and finally the recognition he deserves. My brother Marcus, already got my tux fitted. Sarah's wearing that designer gown. This is huge. Claire, the governor is presenting the award personally. Dad's so excited. I waited for someone to mention me, to ask if I'd received my invitation, to acknowledge I existed. Nothing. Mom, Claire, did you handle that thing we discussed? Claire, yes. All taken care of. That thing. Me. I was that thing they'd handled. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, sounds like a great event. No one responded. This wasn't new. This was the pattern of the last 8 years. Ever since I'd dropped out of business school to pursue what my father called, your little project. Ever since I'd stopped asking him for career advice and started making my own decisions. Ever since I'd refused to work at Foster and Associates and chosen my own path instead. You're throwing away every advantage I've given you, Dad had said when I told him I was leaving school. Do you know how many connections I've built? How many doors I could open for you? I want to open my own doors, I'd replied. He'd laughed. Actually laughed. With what? You have no degree, no experience, no capital. You're going to fail, Rachel. And when you do, don't come crying to me. That was 8 years ago. I was 22 then. Now I was 30 and in my family's eyes I'd proven him right. I was the failure. The disappointment. The one they didn't discuss at family dinners except in hushed, pitying tones. How's Rachel doing? Someone would ask. She's finding her way, Mom would say diplomatically. Still doing that tech thing? An uncle might prod. We don't really know what she does, Dad would admit. She doesn't talk about work. Probably embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed. I was strategic. Because while my family assumed I was struggling, barely scraping by in some entry-level tech job, the reality was substantially different. I just never corrected their assumptions. Why would I? They'd made their judgment 8 years ago. Let them keep it. My little project had a name. Catalyst Solutions. I'd started it in my tiny apartment with $3,000 in savings and a laptop. The concept was simple. AI-powered supply chain optimization for mid-sized manufacturers. Companies too small for the enterprise solutions, too complex for basic software. I'd built the first version myself, teaching myself to code through online courses and sheer determination. My first client was a furniture manufacturer in Ohio who paid me $500 a month. Then a textile company in Georgia. Then a medical device distributor in California. By year 2 I had 40 clients and hired my first employees. By year 4 I had 200 clients and a team of 30. By year 6, Fortune 500 companies were acquiring my smaller clients and demanding they keep using our software. Last year, Catalyst Solutions was valued at $340 million. This year we just closed a Series D funding round that valued us at $890 million. And 3 weeks ago, I'd signed the paperwork for an acquisition offer I'd been negotiating for 6 months. A $2.1 billion all-cash deal with a major tech company. The announcement would go public tomorrow morning. I was about to become a billionaire at 30 years old. But to my family I was still Rachel. Poor Rachel. Struggling Rachel. Rachel who couldn't hack it in the real business world. I kept it that way deliberately. Early on I'd made the decision not to tell them. Partly because I wanted to build something on my own merit without my father's shadow or interference. Partly because I was curious to see how they'd treat me without the leverage of success. The answer was not well. At family dinners, Dad talked about Marcus's career in commercial real estate. He bragged about Claire's corporate law practice. He carefully avoided mentioning me until someone asked, then changed the subject quickly. When I bought my house 3 years ago, a modest 4-bedroom in a good neighborhood, Mom had asked how I afforded it. Tech jobs pay okay, I'd said vaguely. Okay enough for this? She'd looked around skeptically. Rachel, if you need money. I don't need money, Mom. Pride is expensive, honey. If you're in over your head with this mortgage. I'm not. She'd left it alone, but I knew what she told Dad later. Rachel's definitely struggling financially. She's too proud to admit it. At Marcus's wedding 2 years ago, Claire had cornered me at the bar. You know, Dad could probably get you an administrative position at his firm. Not like secretary work, but maybe office management. It would be stable income. Better than whatever you're doing now. I'm happy with what I'm doing. Are you though? She'd looked at me with such genuine pity. Rachel, there's no shame in accepting help. You tried the entrepreneur thing. It didn't work out. That's okay. I'd smiled and changed the subject. Let her think what she wanted. The truth was, I attended their events when required, smiled politely, and lived my actual life completely separately. My team knew who I was. The tech industry knew who I was. Investors, competitors, clients, they all knew. My family had no idea. And that was exactly how I wanted it. I wasn't hiding out of shame. I was watching. Testing. Seeing who they really were when they thought I had nothing to offer them. The answer was disappointing but not surprising. They were embarrassed by me. The daughter who didn't fit their image of success. The sister who couldn't keep up. The one they wished they could forget about at important events. 3 days after the invitation arrived, I was at my office when my executive assistant Emma knocked on my door. Rachel, the Chamber of Commerce called. The governor's team wants to confirm your attendance at the awards dinner Friday night. I looked up from my laptop. For the Business Leader of the Year award? Yes. They said they've been trying to reach you for 2 weeks but kept getting voicemail. The governor specifically wants to present it to you personally. It's apparently a big deal. You're the youngest recipient in the award's 40-year history. I'd forgotten about it entirely. The nomination had come through my board chairman 6 weeks ago. I'd agreed to accept if selected, but with the acquisition closing and a dozen other priorities, it had slipped my mind. What time? 7 p.m. Black tie. The grand ballroom downtown. Emma paused. Your father's receiving an award too. Community leadership. I saw the invitation. Does your family know you're receiving the Business Leader Award? No. Emma knew my family situation. She'd worked with me for 4 years and had witnessed enough awkward phone calls to understand the dynamic. This is going to be interesting, she said carefully. That's one word for it. Do you want me to tell them you'll be there? I thought about Claire's note. Perhaps it's best you skip this one. I thought about years of dismissive comments and pitying looks. I thought about my father's laugh when I told him I was dropping out to start my own company. No, I said. Let it be a surprise. Friday evening I stood in my walk-in closet debating between 2 gowns. The navy Armani or the black Dior. Professional or dramatic. My phone rang. Hi honey, just wanted to check in. What are you up to tonight? I could lie. Should lie. Make up some excuse about working late or meeting friends. Instead I chose honesty. I have an event. How about you? Oh, we're at your father's award dinner. The whole family's here. It's such a beautiful venue. The governor just arrived. Sounds lovely. Pause. Well, we'll miss you. Next time maybe. She didn't sound like she'd miss me. She sounded relieved I wasn't there. Have a good night, Mom. I chose the black Dior. If I was going to crash my own family's celebration of my father, I might as well look memorable doing it. My driver picked me up at 6:30. The chamber had offered to send a car, but I preferred using my own. The 20-minute drive gave me time to think. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I wasn't trying to humiliate my father or prove anything to Claire. I was simply showing up, being myself, existing in my own success without apologizing for it or hiding it to make them comfortable. If they felt embarrassed, that was on them. Not me. The grand ballroom was exactly as elegant as expected. Crystal chandeliers, round tables with white linens, a stage with podium and screens. 500 people in formal wear networking and drinking champagne. I entered through the main doors at 7 sharp. The registration desk attendant's eyes widened. "Miss Foster. We've been watching for you. Please right this way." She led me past the general seating area toward the front of the room. I scanned the crowd as we walked, looking for my family's table. Found them. 3rd row, stage left. Dad in his tuxedo looking proud and animated. Mom in a champagne-colored gown. Claire and her husband. Marcus and his wife Sarah. An empty seat that should have been mine. None of them looked toward the entrance. Why would they? They'd made sure I wouldn't attend. "You're at the head table," the attendant said, gesturing to the raised platform directly in front of the stage. "Next to the governor." "Thank you." I climbed the 3 steps to the head table. 8 seats, name cards at each place. Governor Patricia Williams. Senator James Chin. Chamber President Dorothy Martinez. And their 4th seat from the right, Rachel Foster, CEO, Catalyst Solutions. I sat down just as the senator arrived. "Rachel." He gripped my hand warmly. "Congratulations. Well deserved. Your supply chain work has revolutionized manufacturing in this state." "Thank you, Senator." The governor arrived moments later, her security detail discreetly positioning themselves around the room. "Rachel, so glad you could make it." She settled into her seat beside me. "I've been looking forward to meeting you. Your company's growth trajectory is remarkable." We chatted about technology policy and workforce development. Professional conversation between professionals. This was my world. Had been for years. 15 minutes later, the lights dimmed for the program to begin. I glanced at my family's table. They still hadn't noticed me. Too busy laughing among themselves, too focused on Dad's upcoming moment. The chamber president took the stage. "Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 42nd Annual Chamber of Commerce Awards dinner. Tonight we honor 3 exceptional individuals who have demonstrated outstanding leadership and contribution to our business community." He went through the first award. An entrepreneur who'd built a successful restaurant chain. Applause, photo, handshake. Our second award tonight is the Community Leadership Award, recognizing sustained commitment to economic development and community investment. This year's recipient has spent 25 years building one of our region's most respected consulting firms. Please join me in congratulating Richard Foster of Foster & Associates. My father stood to thunderous applause. Claire was filming on her phone. Mom was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Dad walked to the stage, shook hands with the president, accepted his Crystal Award. His speech was gracious and practiced. He thanked his team, his family, his wife of 32 years. "I couldn't have built Foster & Associates without the support of those closest to me," he said. "My son Marcus, who inherited my business sense. My daughter Claire, whose legal expertise guides our contracts. And my wife Linda, who has stood by me through every challenge." He didn't mention me. I hadn't expected him to. More applause as he returned to his table. Claire hugged him. Marcus shook his hand. They were taking photos, celebrating. The chamber president returned to the microphone. "Our final award tonight is our most prestigious honor. The Business Leader of the Year Award recognizes exceptional vision, innovation, and impact on our regional economy. This year's recipient is the youngest in the award's history." She paused for effect. At just 30 years old, she has built a company valued at nearly $1 billion, created over 300 high-paying jobs, and pioneered technology that is transforming American manufacturing. My family's table had stopped celebrating. I could see Claire's confused expression, Marcus leaning forward. She started her company 8 years ago with no outside capital, no business degree, and no connections. Today, Catalyst Solutions serves over 2,000 clients and is being acquired by a Fortune 100 company for $2.1 billion. Mom's hand went to her mouth. Dad had frozen, his award still in his hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my genuine honor to introduce Governor Patricia Williams, who will present the Business Leader of the Year award to Rachel Foster, CEO of Catalyst Solutions." The room erupted in applause. I stood and the spotlight found me at the head table. I walked to the stage, very aware of every eye in the room now tracking my movement. The governor met me there, smiling genuinely. Rachel Foster, she said into the microphone, I have been watching your company's trajectory with great interest. What you've built exemplifies everything we hope to encourage in our state's business environment. Innovation, job creation, technological advancement. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and the people of this state, congratulations. He handed me the award. It was heavier than Dad's, I noticed. A crystal sculpture with my name already engraved. The applause continued. I looked out at the audience and found my family's table. Dad's face was completely pale. Mom looked like she might faint. Claire's mouth was literally hanging open. Marcus had dropped his napkin and forgotten to pick it up. I stepped to the microphone. Thank you, Governor Williams, Madam President, distinguished guests. This is truly unexpected. A polite lie. 8 years ago I started a company because I believed I could solve a problem that was costing American manufacturers billions in inefficiency. I had no funding, no impressive credentials, and frankly no idea if it would work. I saw Dad shift uncomfortably in his seat. What I did have was conviction. A willingness to work harder than anyone else. And the benefit of people who didn't believe I could succeed. I smiled. Sometimes the best motivation is someone telling you that you'll fail. Claire whispered something to Marcus. He shook his head in disbelief. I want to thank my incredible team at Catalyst Solutions, who turned an idea into a reality. I want to thank our clients who trusted us when we were just starting. And I want to thank the people who taught me that success isn't about credentials or connections, it's about creating genuine value. I raised my award slightly. To everyone starting their journey, don't let anyone else define what success looks like for you. Thank you. The applause was deafening as I returned to my seat. The rest of the dinner was surreal. The governor wanted to discuss my acquisition and its implications for state employment. The senator asked about my legislative priorities. A dozen business leaders stopped by the head table to introduce themselves. Through it all, I could see my family's table in my peripheral vision. They weren't celebrating Dad's award anymore. They were having what looked like an intense, hushed conversation. Claire kept looking at her phone, presumably searching my name. Mom was crying, though I couldn't tell if it was shock or something else. Dad sat rigid, his face unreadable. When the formal program ended and networking began, I knew it was only a matter of time. Marcus reached me first. He appeared at my elbow with a champagne flute in hand and a dazed expression. Rachel, we had no idea. I know. $2.1 billion? That's real. The press release goes out Monday morning. He ran his hand through his hair. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked. Claire arrived with Mom in tow, Dad trailing behind them. Rachel, I don't understand. Claire's lawyer voice was struggling for composure. You built $1 billion company? Almost billion. We'll clear $1 billion with the acquisition. But you dropped out of business school, Mom said weakly. You didn't have any money. I had $3,000 and a laptop. That's all I needed. Dad finally spoke. When? I started 8 years ago. The month after I left school. You've been running a company for 8 years and you never mentioned it? I mentioned it several times actually. You called it my little project, and that tech thing. You told me I would fail and not to come crying to you when I did. He flinched. I was trying to give you realistic advice. You were dismissing me. There's a difference. Rachel. Mom's voice cracked. Why weren't you at our table tonight? You should have been with family for this. I looked at Claire. You sent me a note saying it was best I skip this event. That it was black tie and formal and I'd be out of place. I didn't, Claire stopped. Her face went red. I thought you'd be uncomfortable. I was trying to spare you. Spare me what? The embarrassment of watching Dad get recognized while everyone ignored me? I wasn't uncomfortable, Claire. I was uninvited. That's not. She stopped again because we both knew it was true. The governor appeared at my shoulder. Rachel, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the press wants a photo with this year's honorees. Richard, would you join us? Dad nodded stiffly. We walked to the photo area in silence, standing on opposite ends while the chamber president posed between us. 2 Fosters honored in one night, the photographer said cheerfully. Incredible family. The camera flashed. I maintained my smile. When the photos finished, I turned to my family one last time. Congratulations on your award. Dad. It's well deserved. You've built something meaningful with Foster and Associates. Rachel. I have early meetings Monday. The acquisition announcement will require a full press circuit. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I walked toward the exit, the governor calling after me that she'd like to meet for coffee next week. Behind me I heard Claire's voice. She was at the head table. With the governor. The entire time. And Marcus, we told her not to come. And Mom crying, what have we done? The acquisition announcement Monday morning made national business news. 30-year-old CEO sells AI company for $2.1 billion ran on CNBC. Forbes published a profile. The Wall Street Journal called for an interview. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to reconnect. My uncle who'd asked about my tech thing left 3 voicemails. Cousins were texting congratulations. I ignored most of them and focused on work. The acquisition meant months of transition planning, employee communications, client reassurance. I had a company to hand off properly. Dad called Tuesday afternoon. I was in a board meeting but saw the voicemail later. Rachel, it's Dad. We need to talk. Please call me back. I didn't. He called again Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On Saturday he appeared at my office. Emma called up. Your father is here. He doesn't have an appointment. I'll be down in 5 minutes. I found him in our lobby, looking uncomfortable in casual clothes among the modern furniture and exposed brick. This was my world. He'd never seen it before. Rachel. Dad. Can we talk somewhere private? I led him to a conference room. Glass walls, whiteboard full of product roadmap notes, company values printed on the wall. Innovation. Integrity. He sat down heavily. I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. I do. I've spent 8 years assuming you were failing. Making comments. Treating you like. He stopped. Like someone who needed to be managed. Protected from embarrassment. I know. You built this. He gestured around the office. All of this. And I never even asked. Never took you seriously. I just assumed. That I'd fail. Yes, I remember. That's not. He caught himself. Yes. I did. And I was wrong. The words I'd wanted to hear 8 years ago. Now they felt hollow. Why didn't you tell us? He asked. If you were this successful, why hide it? I wasn't hiding. I just wasn't seeking your validation anymore. I stopped needing you to believe in me. That landed hard. I could see it in his face. The invitation, he said finally. Claire's note. That was wrong. You should have been there. I was there. At our table. With family. Why? So you could ignore me like you've been doing for 8 years? Dad, I sat at the head table with the governor. That's where I belonged. Not at a family table with people who were ashamed of me. We weren't ashamed. Claire's note said I should skip the event because I wouldn't fit in. Mom asked if I needed money to help with my mortgage. Marcus suggested I was too embarrassed to talk about my job. You introduced your accomplished children in your speech and left me out entirely. Kept my voice level. Those aren't the actions of proud parents. He had no response to that. I'm not angry, I continued. I'm really not. I'm just done seeking approval from people who never believed I was capable of success in the first place. Rachel, you're my daughter. I know. But that doesn't mean you get access to my life just because we're related. You had 8 years to ask about my work. To show interest. To treat me like someone whose choices mattered. I'm asking now. Because I'm successful. Because I have something you can brag about. If the acquisition had fallen through and Catalyst had failed, would you be here? Or would you be relieved you didn't have to explain your disappointment of a daughter? He didn't answer because we both knew the truth. I stood up. I'm glad you got your award, Dad. You've built a good consulting firm. You should be proud of that. But my success isn't an extension of yours. It's not a foster family accomplishment. It's mine. What happens now? I keep building my life. You keep building yours. Maybe someday we'll find a way to be in each other's lives that doesn't involve you being embarrassed by me or me seeking your approval. But that's not today. I walked him to the elevator. Before the doors closed, he spoke one more time. I am proud of you. Even if I never showed it. Even if it's too late. I'm proud. The doors closed on his words. I went back to my office and returned to work. There were clients to call, employees to reassure, integration plans to finalize. 3 months later, the acquisition officially closed. I remained CEO during the transition period, my team intact, our mission continuing under new ownership. The day the money hit my account, $1.7 billion after taxes, I took Emma to lunch at the restaurant where I'd had my first client meeting 8 years ago. "What now?" she asked. "Now I start thinking about the next thing. Another company? Maybe. Or investing. Or teaching. I'm 30 years old and financially set for life. I can do anything." My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. "Can we talk? Not about business. About family. About being sisters. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway." I stared at the message for a long moment. Emma watched me. "You don't owe them anything, you know." "I know. But they're still my family. Even when they're terrible at it." I typed a response. "Coffee next week? Just us." Her reply came instantly. "Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry, Rachel. For all of it." I put my phone away and looked out the window at the city where I'd built something from nothing. Where I'd proven to myself, not to them, to myself, that I was capable of extraordinary things. Some bridges burn completely. Some can be rebuilt slowly with new foundations. I wasn't sure which category my family fell into yet. But for the first time in 8 years I was willing to find out. Not because I needed them to validate me, but because I was secure enough in who I'd become that their opinions no longer had the power to diminish me. That was the real success. Not the $1 billion. Not the awards. Not the recognition. The freedom to be exactly who I was, whether they accepted it or not.